Apparently, working late at the office and pottery class are interchangeable phrases when your husband's having an affair with your brother-in-law. Look, when my cousin Landry called me at 2:15 on a random Tuesday afternoon, saying she'd just seen my husband Corbin walking into some hipster pottery studio in Southeast Portland, the part of town he always called where dreams go to become kombucha, I figured she'd finally cracked from too much reality TV. Corbin? The man who thinks NPR is too edgy? Doing artisanal ceramics in the land of fixed-gear bicycles and aggressive veganism? But Landry doesn't lie. She's that cousin who'll tell you your wedding dress makes you look like a deranged cupcake. So when she says she saw something, she saw something. I'm Marin Whitley, by the way. 34, CPA at a firm where Casual Friday means you can wear navy instead of black. Married 10 years to a man I thought I knew. We just celebrated our anniversary 5 days ago, October 12th, 10 years exactly. He gave me flowers from Trader Joe's and told me he loved me. Spoiler alert, he's a liar. So I did what any rational woman with access to find my iPhone and a half day of unused vacation time would do. I went full detective mode. Told my boss Margaret I had a dentist appointment, root canal, very dramatic, and drove my sensible Honda Accord straight to the address Landry sent me. Clay and Soul Studio. Even the name made me want to audit their books for tax fraud. The building was one of those converted warehouses with exposed brick and probably a ghost named Beauregard. Traffic was mercifully light for a Tuesday afternoon, one of those rare Portland miracles. So I made it from my downtown office to Southeast Division Street in 23 minutes flat. I parked across the street at 3:10 p.m., watching the door like I was on some discount stakeout. The October afternoon was doing that Pacific Northwest thing where it can't decide if it wants to rain or just threaten you with the possibility. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from that special cocktail of rage and curiosity that every woman knows intimately. That feeling when your gut has been whispering something's wrong for months, and suddenly your cousin hands you a megaphone. I didn't wait long. I walked straight up to that reclaimed wood door and rang the buzzer. Once, twice. Then I heard footsteps. The door opened. Corbin stood there, and I swear to God, I watched his soul try to leave his body through his eyeballs. He was wearing a clay-covered apron over his sensible khakis. Khakis that I'd ironed Sunday night while he told me he loved me and asked what I wanted for dinner. Behind him, halfway visible through the studio doorway, was another figure, also covered in clay, also frozen in absolute terror. Boyd, my sister's husband. The father of her 2 kids and the tiny human currently doing somersaults in her 5 months pregnant belly. Marin. Corbin's voice cracked like puberty hitting twice. How did you? Landry saw you, I said, which in retrospect might have thrown my cousin under the bus, but betrayal makes you petty. So, pottery? Since when do you do pottery? Boyd appeared fully in the doorway now, and if Corbin looked like death, Boyd looked like Death's nervous assistant. They'd clearly been working. Clay covered their aprons and hands, though 2 coffee cups on a side table suggested they'd been taking breaks. For talking. Or whatever else they did here that required king-sized hotel beds in Seattle. It's not what it looks like, Corbin started, which is universally what guilty people say when it's exactly what it looks like. Really? I pushed past him into the studio. Because it looks like my husband is spending his Tuesday afternoons playing with clay in a studio that costs, I glanced at the rate sheet on the wall, $485 a month. Which is interesting because you told me we couldn't afford to remodel the bathroom. The studio was exactly what you'd expect. Pottery wheels, shelves of half-finished bowls, that distinctive smell of wet clay and broken marriages. Those coffee cups were from the expensive place downtown. Both still slightly warm. Marin, please, Boyd said, finding his voice. We can explain. Can you? I turned to face them both. Can you explain why my husband and my sister's husband are having secret afternoon dates? Because I'm a CPA, gentlemen. I'm very good with numbers. And the math here is adding up to something my sister Thea is going to be really interested in hearing about. The color drained from Boyd's face. You can't tell Thea. She's pregnant. Oh, I'm aware she's pregnant, I said. I was at the ultrasound last month. Saw the pictures of your third kid. Really cute, by the way. Wonder how that baby's going to feel knowing Daddy was here making pottery with Uncle Corbin while Mommy was home with morning sickness. Corbin finally found some semblance of spine. It's complicated. Complicated. I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to me. Complicated is filing a joint return when one spouse is self-employed. This? I gestured between them. This is actually pretty simple. That's when I saw it. On the wedging table, partially covered by a cloth, a phone. Corbin's phone, specifically. I'd know that Spider-Man case anywhere. I bought it for him last Christmas because he's basically 12 years old in a 36-year-old's body. I grabbed it before either of them could react. Face ID didn't work. Too much clay on his face, probably. But I knew his passcode. Our anniversary. October 12th. The anniversary we'd just celebrated 5 days ago with dinner and promises and lies. The message is loaded. Oh, the message is loaded. Can't wait for Tuesday. Been thinking about your hands all weekend. Boyd to Corbin, 3 days ago. Edith asked why I was so happy lately. Almost told her it's because of you. Corbin to Boyd, last week. Booked us the same hotel in Seattle for the November workshop. King bed this time. Boyd to Corbin, 2 weeks ago. There were hundreds. Months of them. Photos of them laughing, arms around each other, covered in clay. Receipts. God. So many receipts. Dinners at restaurants I'd never been to. Hotels in Seattle, Eugene. Even one weekend in Vancouver. All carefully hidden under work conferences and guys' trips. 8 months, I said quietly, scrolling. You've been doing this for 8 months. Neither of them spoke. Corbin's clay-covered hands were shaking. Boyd looked like he might throw up. The Denver Insurance Convention, I continued, reading. That's where it started. February. When you both came back and said it was boring and corporate. Looks like you boys found ways to entertain yourselves. I looked up at my husband. This man I'd made breakfast for that morning. Who'd kissed my forehead and said, "Love you. Have a good day at work." Who'd celebrated our 10-year anniversary 5 days ago with flowers and promises. Who'd been living an entire secret life while I balanced our checkbook and planned our grocery lists. Thea needs to know, I said. Marin. Both of them started. Thea needs to know, I repeated. And you're going to figure out how to tell her. Or I will. And trust me, gentlemen, you really want to control that narrative yourselves. I walked out of that studio with Corbin's phone in my hand, leaving my husband and brother-in-law standing in their expensive betrayal cave, covered in clay and lies. The drive home was a blur. I called Thea from my car. "Hey, sis," she answered, sounding tired. "What's up?" "Mason's having a meltdown about his—" "I need you to come over right now," I said. "Don't bring the kids, just you. It's about Boyd and Corbin." The silence on the other end told me everything. She already knew something was wrong. Women always know. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, she said quietly. I beat her home by 10. Sat in my driveway, in the house Corbin and I bought 6 years ago, looking at the porch we painted together, the garden we planted, the life we built. Or the life I thought we built, anyway. Turns out he was building something else entirely, with Boyd, in a pottery studio that cost more monthly than our water bill. My phone buzzed. A text from Corbin. "Please let me explain." I turned off my phone. 23 minutes later, Thea's SUV pulled up. She got out slowly, one hand on her pregnant belly, her face already streaked with tears, because she knew. Maybe not the details, but she knew. "Show me," she said when she reached the porch. So I did. Watching your sister's face crumble while reading text messages between your husband and hers is a special kind of hell that Hallmark doesn't make cards for. Thea sat on my couch. The couch Corbin picked out naturally because apparently he has opinions about furniture but not about fidelity, scrolling through his phone with one hand on her pregnant belly. Every few seconds she'd make this sound, like a small animal dying. I'd made us tea. Because what else do you do when your entire family implodes? You boil water like a civilized person. November 15th, she read aloud, voice flat. Seattle, king bed. That's next month. He already booked it. She looked up at me. I thought he was going to a real estate conference. Corbin told me it was an insurance seminar, I said. Apparently, our husbands are very committed to professional development, just not the kind that involves actual professions. She kept scrolling. Her face had gone from devastated to something harder, something calculating. I recognized that look. We're sisters, after all. We got it from our mother, who once made a grown man cry at a PTA meeting over misallocated bake sale funds. February 9th, Thea said. That's when Boyd came home from Denver and suddenly wanted to work on us. Took me to that expensive restaurant in Pearl District. Bought me flowers every week for a month. She laughed, sharp and ugly. I thought he was having a midlife crisis. Turns out he was just guilty. Corbin started going to the gym, I offered. Said he wanted to feel better about himself. Lost 15 pounds? I thought he was finally taking his health seriously. I paused. He was getting pretty for Boyd. Right after our 10-year anniversary, too. Gave me grocery store flowers while apparently planning Seattle getaways. The pottery studio, Thea said, still reading. They're paying for it with, oh my God. Marin, look at this. She turned the phone to me. A Venmo transaction from Corbin to Boyd. Studio rent split. $485 divided by 2. But the account it came from wasn't our joint checking. It was listed as C. Whitley Personal. What account is that? Thea asked. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. I don't know. You're a CPA. I'm a CPA who apparently doesn't audit her own husband. I took the phone, scrolled to Corbin's banking app. He was logged in. Bless his technologically incompetent heart. There it was. Capital One Savings. Personal. Current balance. $47,218. We both stared at the screen. $47,000, Thea said slowly. Where did he get $47,000? We've been married 10 years, I said, my brain doing automatic calculations. Our joint savings has $12,000. I manage our finances. There's no way he saved that without me knowing. Then it hit me. His annual bonuses, or overtime pay. Something he underreported to me for years. Thea was scrolling again. Boyd's been doing the same thing. Look, transfers every month to an account ending in 7823. He told me that was for Harper's college fund. Harper, their 9-year-old daughter, who apparently had a college fund that was secretly funding her father's affair. My phone started buzzing. Corbin calling. I declined it. It rang again immediately. Declined. Then a text appeared. Marin, please, we need to talk. This isn't what you think. Boyd and I are just friends who got confused. I showed Thea. She snorted. An actual snort. Confused. They got confused. Like they accidentally fell into an 8-month relationship while naked in Seattle hotels. Very confusing situation, I agreed. Could happen to anyone. My doorbell rang. We both looked at the door like it might explode. If that's them? Thea started. It's definitely them. I opened the door. Corbin and Boyd stood on my porch, the clay now completely dried on their clothes in sad, flaky patches, looking like the world's saddest pottery demonstration. Neighbors across the street were very obviously pretending to garden while watching. Mrs. Walsh hadn't touched her rose bushes in 3 years, but suddenly she was out there with pruning shears. Can we come in? Corbin asked. Can you explain the $47,000 in your secret account first? I countered. He actually flinched. Boyd's face did something complicated. You went through my banking app? Corbin's voice climbed into indignant territory, which was rich considering the circumstances. You went through my brother-in-law. I shot back. I think we're past privacy concerns. Thea appeared behind me, all 5'3" of pregnant fury. Boyd, where's your wedding ring? He looked down at his bare hand like he'd never seen it before. It was getting clay on it. I took it off at the studio. You took it off in February, she said quietly. I noticed. You said it was getting tight. Needed to be resized. She turned to Corbin. Where's yours? Corbin's hand instinctively went to his pocket. The pocket where he clearly kept his ring while pretending to be single at pottery class. Inside, Thea said. Now. You both have exactly 30 minutes to explain 8 months of lies before I call Sterling. Sterling. Boyd's ultra-conservative father who thinks yoga is sacrilege, and once disowned his brother for being Democrat. They came in, following us because Corbin lived here, and Boyd had nowhere else to go after Thea drove herself to my house. We sat in my living room like the world's worst double date. Corbin kept trying to sit next to me on the couch. I moved to the armchair. Boyd sat as far from Thea as physically possible while remaining in the same room. It started as friendship, Corbin began, which might be the weakest opening to a confession in human history. Skip to the part where you started booking hotel rooms, I said. He looked at Boyd. Boyd looked at the floor. Neither of them spoke. The Denver convention, Thea said. What happened in Denver? We got drunk, Boyd said quietly. Started talking about life, feelings, things we couldn't talk about with anyone else. You couldn't talk to your wife who was home with your 2 children? Thea's voice could have cut glass. It's not about you, Boyd started. It's literally about me, Thea interrupted. I'm your wife, who's pregnant, with your 3rd child, so it's very much about me. When did the pottery studio start? I asked, keeping my voice level, professional, like I was auditing their affair instead of living in it. April, Corbin said. We needed somewhere to meet that wasn't public, obvious, morally reprehensible, I offered. Private, he finished lamely. $485 a month, I said. For 6 months. That's $2,910. Plus hotels, let me guess. Average $200 per night, once a month for 8 months since February. That's $1,600. Restaurants, let's say $100 per date, twice a month for 8 months. Another $1,600. We're at $6,100, gentlemen, and that's conservative math. They both stared at me. What? I said. I'm a CPA. I calculate everything, including exactly how much my marriage costs to destroy. Marin, Corbin started. Does your mother know? I asked. Edith Whitley, church deacon's wife, who'd embroidered our wedding date on throw pillows, who thought dancing was sinful but apparently raised a son with very flexible morals. The way Corbin's face drained of color answered that question. Does Sterling know? Thea asked Boyd. Sterling Kessler, who'd built a commercial real estate empire on handshake deals and conservative values, who employed his son specifically because family works harder. Boyd looked like he might pass out. That's what I thought, Thea said. She stood up, or tried to. Pregnancy makes standing dramatic. I helped her. Marin and I need to talk. You two stay here. Don't touch anything. Don't leave. If you try to leave, I'm calling both your parents right now. We went to my kitchen. Through the window, I could see Mrs. Walsh had recruited Mrs. Patterson to the fake gardening surveillance operation. We should tell them, I said. We should destroy them, Thea corrected. Carefully, methodically, in a way that ensures they understand exactly what they've done. You're thinking Thanksgiving, I said. She smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I'm thinking Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving dinner at Vernon and Edith's house. 32 family members, Boyd's parents, our parents, aunts, uncles, cousins. The whole traditional American nightmare. And this year we'd be adding a special side dish. Devastating truth served cold with cranberry sauce. We have 37 days, Thea said. That's enough time to gather every receipt, every text, every piece of evidence. Make it undeniable. And in the meantime, I asked. In the meantime, she said, we act normal. Let them think they're safe. Let them think we're processing, deciding. You want to stay with Boyd for 37 days? While pregnant? Her hand went to her belly. For Harper and Mason, I'd stay in a burning building. I can handle 37 days of pretending everything's fine while planning the social execution of their father. I looked at my sister, 3 years older, always braver, currently housing a human while plotting revenge, and felt something shift. Not healing, just clarity. Okay, I said. Thanksgiving it is. We walked back to the living room. Corbin and Boyd looked up hopefully, like confused puppies who'd chewed through the furniture and thought maybe we wouldn't notice. Here's what's happening, I said. Thea and I are going to think about all of this. We're going to process. And we're going to make decisions after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving? Corbin repeated. That's more than a month away. 37 days, Thea confirmed. You both have 37 days to think about what you've done, to sit with it, to understand it, and then we'll all talk again. As a family. The way she said family made it sound like a threat. They left. Not together. Thea made Boyd take his own car home. Mrs. Walsh was going to dine out on this gossip for weeks, though the real story wouldn't fully break until after Thanksgiving, when all of Portland would know. After they were gone, Thea turned to me. I need to get home before the kids start wondering. You okay? Define okay. Fair point. She hugged me, belly between us like a reminder of everything at stake. 37 days, sis. Then we blow their entire world apart. 37 days, I agreed. She left. I stood in my living room, in my house, in my life that had ended and somehow kept going. Corbin's forgotten coffee mug sat on the counter. I picked it up, walked to the sink, and very calmly smashed it into 47,000 pieces. Approximately one piece for every dollar he'd hidden from me. The math worked out perfectly. The thing about pretending everything's normal while planning someone's social execution is that it requires Oscar-worthy acting skills and the emotional range of a sociopath. Turns out I'm pretty good at both. Day 3 of Operation Thanksgiving Massacre. Yes, Thea and I named it. We're not monsters without a sense of humor. I made Corbin his favorite breakfast. Blueberry pancakes, extra butter, the works. He sat at our kitchen table looking like a man who'd been granted a stay of execution and couldn't quite believe his luck. These are really good, he said carefully, like the pancakes might be poisoned. I know, I said, pouring myself coffee. I've been making them for 10 years. Made them the morning after our anniversary last week, too. He flinched. Every mention of our decade together made him flinch now. Every reminder of that anniversary dinner 5 days before I discovered his secret life. Good. Marin, I really think we should talk about... Pass the syrup. I smiled. Bright. Empty. The smile of a woman who'd spent her lunch break yesterday photographing every transaction in his secret bank account. He passed the syrup. At work, I was everyone's favorite colleague. Cheerful Marin, who brought donuts on Friday and never complained about covering shifts. My boss, Margaret, actually asked if I was okay because I was being too nice. You're acting like someone who just found religion or committed a felony, she said, which was uncomfortably perceptive. Just feeling grateful, I told her. Grateful I'd married an idiot who kept his passwords in his phone notes. Grateful I'd chosen accounting as a profession. Grateful my sister was equally vindictive and currently compiling a spreadsheet that would make the IRS weep with joy. Thea was handling her part beautifully. She'd moved Boyd back into their bedroom. For the children, she told him tearfully, and proceeded to be the perfect wife. Packed his lunches, ironed his shirts, asked about his day with genuine-seeming interest. Meanwhile, she was screenshotting every text, every call log, every suspicious calendar entry. We met for lunch on day 8 at a cafe far enough from both our houses that we wouldn't run into anyone. She looked tired. Pregnancy plus emotional warfare will do that. But her eyes were sharp. I found their backup plan, she said, sliding her phone across the table. It was an email thread between Corbin and Boyd. Subject line, after. My stomach dropped as I read. They'd discussed leaving us. After the holidays, they'd written, after Thea had the baby. They'd get apartments together in Seattle. Start fresh, Corbin had written. Like marriages were rough drafts you could just crumple up and toss. February 15th was their target date, Thea said quietly. 2 weeks after I'm due on February 3rd. They were going to wait until I recovered from childbirth, then tell me Boyd was leaving, for his mental health. Corbin wanted to wait until after Valentine's Day, I added, still reading. Because apparently he's a monster with a sense of irony. The waitress came by. We ordered salads we wouldn't eat, and sat in the kind of silence that only women who've been betrayed in identical ways can share. I need to know something, Thea said finally. Are you having doubts? About Thanksgiving? Are you? Harper asked me yesterday why Daddy's been so happy lately, she said. My 9-year-old daughter noticed her father's in a good mood because he's planning to abandon her. So no. No doubts. Corbin asked if we could go to couples therapy, I said. Suggested we work through this. Like it's a communication issue and not a, "You've been having an affair with my brother-in-law for 8 months" issue. What did you say? I said yes. I smiled at Thea's shocked expression. I scheduled us an appointment for December 3rd, after Thanksgiving, after we won't need his cooperation for anything anymore. She started laughing. Really laughing. The cafe got quiet, people staring at the pregnant woman having hysterics over her salad. "You're diabolical." "I'm a CPA who feels underestimated," I corrected. "There's a difference." Over the next 3 weeks, we built our case like lawyers preparing for trial. Every receipt, every text, every lie documented and dated. Thea created a presentation, actual PowerPoint slides, because she's a graphic designer and even revenge deserves good design. Title slide: A Love Story, When Your Husband Finds His Soulmate at a Pottery Studio. We rehearsed the plan. Thanksgiving dinner started at 2. Edith would serve appetizers at 1:30. We'd wait until dessert, approximately 4:15, after everyone had eaten, after the wine had flowed, when the family was comfortable and full and completely unprepared for what was coming. Thea would announce she had a special family video to share, something about the new baby. Everyone would gather around. Vernon would pull up the presentation on their big living room TV. He'd installed it specifically for family slideshows. The irony was delicious. And we'd let it play. 5 minutes. That's all we needed. 5 minutes of their messages, their photos, their receipts, their entire secret relationship displayed in high definition for 32 family members, including Vernon, the church deacon, and Sterling, the ultra-conservative businessman. "What if they don't come?" I asked on day 23. We were at my house, Thea horizontal on my couch because the baby was apparently practicing kickboxing on her internal organs. "They'll come," she said with certainty, "because right now they think they're getting away with it. Boyd thinks I'm forgiving him. Corbin thinks you're too passive to fight back. They think the hard part's over." She was right. Corbin had started sleeping better, smiling more. He'd even suggested we host Christmas this year, like we were a couple with a future instead of a marriage being held together by premeditated revenge and spite. Day 25, I found something else. That account ending in 7823, Boyd's supposed college fund for Harper. I'd gotten access to Boyd's phone records through Thea. Transfers every month for 3 years, $12,000 total. But when I cross-referenced with the affair timeline, the deposit stopped in February. Right when the affair started. He actually was saving for Harper, I told Thea. Then used that money for hotels and dinners with Corbin instead. Her face went cold. Every penny of that account is going to pay for Harper and Mason's therapy. The therapy they're going to need because their father's an idiot. Day 30, exactly 1 week before Thanksgiving, Boyd's father Sterling called Thea. She put it on speaker so I could hear. "Thea, sweetheart, I wanted to check in. Boyd seems distracted lately. Everything okay with you two?" Thea met my eyes across her kitchen. "Everything's wonderful, Sterling. We're stronger than ever. Actually planning a special surprise for Thanksgiving dinner. Family announcement." "That's wonderful. Nothing better than family." He paused. "You're taking care of yourself? The baby?" "The baby's perfect," Thea said, hand on her belly. "Due February 3rd. Right on schedule." After she hung up, we sat in silence. "February 15th was their escape date," I said. 12 days after I'm supposed to give birth," Thea confirmed. 12 days for me to recover from major medical trauma before Boyd planned to destroy our children's lives. They really thought that was reasonable. They really did. Day 34, 3 days before Thanksgiving, Corbin came home with flowers. Grocery store flowers, the kind that die in 48 hours, but still, flowers. "For being patient with me," he said. "I know these last few weeks have been hard, but I think we're going to be okay, Marin. I really do." I put them in water, smiled, kissed his cheek, thought about the identical flowers he'd given me for our anniversary while planning his escape. "I think you're right." That night, I added one final slide to Thea's presentation. A split screen. On the left, Corbin's text to Boyd saying, "Marin's being so understanding. I think she might actually forgive me." On the right, my text to Thea. "He has no idea what's coming." Day 36, the day before Thanksgiving, my mother called. You're still coming tomorrow, right? Bringing Corbin? Wouldn't miss it, I said. We have so much to be thankful for this year. That's my girl. Oh, and Edith asked me to remind everyone, no phones at the dinner table. She wants everyone present and engaged, though I suppose after dinner is fine. I almost laughed. Tell Edith we'll be very present, very engaged, especially during dessert. That night, Thea and I met one last time. She was exhausted, the baby apparently objecting to all the stress by treating her ribcage like a punching bag. We sat in her car in the Target parking lot, neutral territory, nowhere our husbands would accidentally find us, and went through the plan one final time. After it plays, Thea said, we don't say anything. We just let them react. Let the family react. Let Corbin and Boyd try to explain to Vernon and Sterling and everyone else what they've done. And if they try to leave, Vernon will stop them. You know how he is about facing consequences like a man. She paused. Are you scared? Terrified, I admitted. But also, I haven't felt this clear-headed in months, like I've been living in fog and someone finally opened a window. Tomorrow, everything changes, Thea said. Tomorrow, everything explodes, I corrected. We hugged goodbye in that parking lot, two sisters about to detonate their entire family structure in the name of truth and spectacularly petty justice. Landry had texted me earlier, my cousin who'd started all this, asking if I was okay. I'd told her she'd understand everything soon, that she'd done me the biggest favor of my life. I drove home. Corbin was already asleep, one arm flung over my side of the bed like he belonged there. Like he hadn't spent 8 months texting another man in that bed, planning a future in that bed, lying in that bed in every possible definition of the word. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there, counting down the hours until Thanksgiving dinner, until the turkey got served alongside the truth, until 32 people learned what happens when you underestimate women who know how to use PowerPoint. 15 hours to go. I couldn't wait. There's something beautifully ironic about destroying 2 marriages during a holiday specifically designed to celebrate gratitude and family unity. The Pilgrims would be so proud. Thanksgiving morning, Corbin woke up cheerful, actually whistled while getting dressed, picked out his nice sweater, the burgundy one I'd bought him last Christmas, and asked if I thought his parents would notice he'd lost weight. They'll definitely notice something, I said, which was technically true. We arrived at Vernon and Edith's house at 1:20, early enough to help set up, late enough that most family had already arrived. The house smelled like turkey and lies, which is apparently the traditional American holiday scent. Edith hugged me at the door. Marin, sweetheart, you look radiant. Marriage agrees with you. It's been educational, I said. Thea and Boyd pulled up 5 minutes later. She'd dressed carefully, a maternity dress that emphasized her pregnant belly, hair done perfectly, makeup flawless. She looked like a Norman Rockwell painting of wholesome family values. Boyd looked nervous, but everyone assumed it was new baby jitters. The house was packed. 32 people exactly, just as planned. Vernon and Edith, Sterling and Paulina, our parents, Mom already 3 glasses of wine deep, Dad discussing football with uncles, aunts, uncles, Corbin's younger sister with her husband and their toddler, Boyd and Thea's kids, Harper and Mason, running around with their cousins, blissfully unaware their world was about to shift on its axis. My cousin Landry caught my eye from across the room, and I gave her the smallest nod. She'd started this chain reaction. Now she'd see how it ended. Corbin found Boyd in the kitchen. I watched them exchange this look, relief mixed with something else, like they'd survived shark-infested waters and made it to shore. They had no idea the sharks were still circling. "Boys!" Sterling boomed, clapping them both on the shoulders. "Good to see you two getting along. Family's important, especially family men." He winked. "Speaking of which, Boyd tells me you two have been taking some kind of class together? Pottery?" Corbin went pale. Boyd coughed into his drink. "Just a hobby," Boyd managed. "Hobbies are good for the soul," Vernon added, appearing with his deacon smile. "Idle hands and all that. Better than them being at bars or chasing women, right, Edith?" Edith laughed from the dining room. "My Corbin knows better. Raised him right." Thea caught my eye across the room. Her expression said everything. "Oh, this is going to be good." Dinner proceeded exactly on schedule. Turkey at 2:15. Everyone complimented Edith's cooking, discussed the football game, made small talk about weather and work. Corbin relaxed as the meal progressed, started joking with his cousins. Boyd told a story about Mason's school play. Everyone laughed. Normal family Thanksgiving. Nothing unusual. Dessert came out at 4:12. Pumpkin pie, apple pie, pecan pie. Edith doesn't believe in moderation. Coffee and decaf for those who wanted it. The wine continued flowing. Everyone was comfortable, full, gathered in the living room for the traditional post-dinner lounging. That's when Thea stood up. "Everyone?" She waited until she had the room's attention. "Boyd and I have something special to share. A video about our growing family. We thought Thanksgiving was the perfect time." "Oh, how lovely." Paulina clasped her hands together. "Sterling, get the camera." "It's already prepared," Thea said sweetly. "Vernon, could you pull it up on the TV? It's in my email. The dinner table rule doesn't apply now that we've finished eating." Vernon, always eager to showcase his technical skills, grabbed the remote and his tablet. "Happy to. Everyone gather round." 32 people arranged themselves facing the 70-inch TV. Harper and Mason squeezed onto the couch between their grandmothers. Corbin stood behind me, hand on my shoulder. Boyd stood next to Thea, his arm around her waist. The presentation loaded. Title slide appeared. A love story. When your husband finds his soulmate at a pottery studio. The room went silent. Confused silent, not alarmed yet. Several people chuckled awkwardly. Then slide 2 loaded. A screenshot of a text message from Corbin to Boyd. "Can't stop thinking about Tuesday. Your hands. Everything." The chuckling stopped. Slide 3. A photo of Corbin and Boyd at the pottery studio, arms around each other covered in clay, looking at each other the way Corbin used to look at me approximately never. Someone gasped. I think it was Edith. Slide 4. Hotel receipt, Seattle, king bed, date, September 23rd, cost, $247, booked under Corbin Whitley. Vernon made a sound like a small animal being strangled. The presentation continued. 5 minutes of their entire relationship displayed in excruciating detail. Messages about how they couldn't live like this anymore. Photos from restaurants across 3 states. Venmo transactions splitting studio rent. The email thread titled After, discussing leaving their wives. The final financial slide. Boyd's college fund account ending in 7823, $12,000 that should have gone to Harper's education, redirected to fund an affair. The final slide was the kicker, a split screen. Left side, their plan to leave us on February 15th, 12 days after Thea was scheduled to give birth on February 3rd. Right side, the $47,000 Corbin had hidden in his secret account. For their fresh start, the presentation ended. The TV went black. The silence was archaeological. Like if scientists dug down deep enough, they'd find fossils of this exact moment of absolute mortified quiet. Then Edith spoke. Corbin James Whitley. Her voice could have stripped paint. What in the name of everything holy? Mom, I can explain. Corbin started. Explain? Vernon stood up. The church deacon, the man who'd counseled dozens of couples through marriage problems, looked at his son like he was something Vernon had scraped off his shoe. You can explain 8 months of adultery? Of lying to your wife? Of... He couldn't even finish. Sterling's face had gone purple. Actually, purple. Boyd, we're going to talk. Now. Dad, please. I said now. Boyd didn't move. Probably couldn't. Fear paralysis is real. Paulina was crying, full sobbing. How could you? How could you do this to Thea? To your children? To this family? We didn't mean for it to happen, Boyd said weakly, which might be the most useless sentence ever constructed in the English language. Didn't mean for it to happen? Thea's voice cut through the chaos. She stood up, all 5'3" of pregnant fury. You rented a studio. For 6 months. You booked hotels. You planned to leave me 12 days after I gave birth. Which part was accidental, Boyd? Harper started crying. Mason looked confused. The cousins stared like they were watching a nature documentary about particularly stupid animals. My mother, God bless her wine-soaked soul, started laughing. Hysterical, unhinged laughter. I knew something was off. I told Frank. She grabbed my father's arm. I said something's weird with those two. And Frank said I was being paranoid. You were being paranoid, Dad said. You just happened to be right. Corbin's sister backed away from him like infidelity might be contagious. Her husband grabbed their toddler, covering the kid's ears even though the child was 3 and understood nothing. The account, Vernon said quietly, dangerously. The $47,000. Where did you get $47,000, Corbin? Bonuses and unreported overtime, I said, speaking for the first time. He told me they were smaller than they actually were. For 10 years. Save the difference. For them. Every eye in the room turned to me. Then to Corbin. Then back to me. You've been lying for a decade to leave your wife? Edith's voice broke. I taught you better than this. I raised you in the church. We prayed together. Every Sunday we prayed together. I'm still the same person, Corbin tried. You're not, Vernon said flatly. My son wouldn't do this. I don't know who you are. Sterling had gone beyond purple into some new color. Medical science hasn't discovered. You're done at the company. Effective immediately. I'll have HR process your termination Monday. Dad, you can't. I built that company on integrity, on handshake deals and trust. You've shown you have neither. Sterling turned to Thea. Whatever you need. Lawyers, money, anything. It's yours. Thank you, Thea said quietly, hand on her belly. The room erupted. Everyone talking at once. Family members taking sides, mostly ours. Corbin's cousins looked disgusted. Boyd's uncle started lecturing about the sanctity of marriage. The aunts gathered around Thea and me like protective birds. Corbin grabbed my arm. Marin, please, can we talk privately? Don't touch her, my father said. Dad, who never raised his voice, who believed in peaceful conflict resolution. He stepped between us. Don't you dare touch my daughter. Corbin backed away. You need to leave, Vernon said to both of them. Both of you need to leave this house, now. This is Thanksgiving, Boyd started. Thanksgiving is for family, Edith said coldly. You two clearly have different priorities. They left, grabbed their coats and walked out the door into the November cold, 30 pairs of eyes watching them go. Through the window, I saw them standing on the lawn, lost, shocked. Their entire world imploded. After they left, the house exhaled. Conversation resumed. Louder now, processing, dissecting. Harper climbed into Thea's lap, careful of the baby. Mommy, where's Daddy going? Away for a while, sweetie, Thea said, kissing her daughter's head. But we're going to be okay, I promise. Sterling pulled Thea aside. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I saw him hand her something. A business card, probably his lawyer. Saw Paulina hug her, both women crying. Vernon approached me. Marin, I am so deeply sorry. If there's anything, there is, I said. Make sure Corbin knows he's not welcome at your house until he's made this right, however long that takes. He nodded. He won't step foot in my home until he's earned his way back into this family, if he ever does. Later, after the family had processed and left, and the house was being cleaned, Thea and I stood in the driveway. She was exhausted, the baby doing somersaults, Harper and Mason asleep in her car. We did it, she said. We did it, I confirmed. I feel... She paused. I don't know how I feel. Powerful? I suggested. Vindicated? Slightly unhinged? She laughed, tired but real. All of the above. We hugged goodbye. Two sisters who'd weaponized PowerPoint and family values and served justice alongside cranberry sauce. I drove home alone, to a house that was finally, honestly, just mine. Best Thanksgiving ever. 8 months after Thanksgiving, I can finally walk past a pottery studio without experiencing homicidal urges. Progress. The divorce was finalized in April. Corbin got the lawyer he could afford, which is to say, not a good one. I got the house, the car, both retirement accounts, and every penny of that $47,000 Fresh Start fund. My attorney, who Sterling recommended and paid for, called it the most satisfying settlement negotiation of her career. Corbin tried fighting for half the house. His lawyer pointed out that hiding assets for a decade tends to make judges unsympathetic. The judge, a 60-year-old woman who'd been married 43 years, looked at Corbin like he was something unfortunate stuck to her gavel. Request denied. Next case. Thea's divorce took until June, more complicated with 3 kids and Boyd's lack of cooperation, but the outcome was equally satisfying. She got the Lake Oswego house, sold it immediately, and bought a smaller place in Selwood 3 blocks from me. Sterling made sure Boyd understood that fighting Thea meant losing what little relationship remained with his own father. Corbin lives in a studio apartment in Gresham now, works at a different insurance company for less pay. Turns out when your affair becomes Portland's suburban legend, professional reputation takes a hit. His mother still won't speak to him. Vernon lets him attend church. God forgives even the spectacularly stupid, apparently. But Corbin sits in the back row alone while Edith actively looks away. Boyd's situation is worse, which brings me tremendous joy. Sterling didn't just fire him. He made sure everyone in Portland's commercial real estate community knew why. Boyd's doing property management now for an apartment complex in Beaverton. Makes about $40,000 a year. Between child support and the spousal support Thea's lawyer negotiated, he keeps less than half. He lives in a 1-bedroom apartment close enough to see his kids on alternating weekends, far enough that Thea doesn't have to see him. Thea had the baby February 3rd, exactly on schedule. A girl. Thea named her Ruby. No input from Boyd needed or wanted. She's perfect and has Boyd's nose, which Thea says is unfortunate but manageable. Boyd gets standard alternating weekend visitation. He didn't fight it after his lawyer explained what a custody hearing would look like with that PowerPoint as evidence. Harper and Mason have been in therapy since December. They're doing okay. Kids are resilient in ways that constantly surprise me. Harper told me last week that she's glad her mom is happier now, even though she misses when her dad lived with them. Then she asked if she could learn pottery. The irony is apparently lost on 9-year-olds. I told her maybe when she's older. Much older. That $12,000 from account 7823, Boyd's supposed college fund for Harper that funded his affair instead? Every penny went to pay for Harper and Mason's therapy bills. Thea made sure Boyd knew exactly where that money ended up. Sterling set up proper college funds for all 3 kids afterward. Full rides, all 3. Their father's an idiot, he told Thea. But these kids didn't choose him. The Clay and Soul studio tried to rebrand after our Thanksgiving reveal went through Portland's suburban gossip network like wildfire, but closed in March anyway. The space is a meditation studio now called Inner Peace Wellness. The irony of replacing a betrayal site with a place for finding inner peace is not lost on me. I drive past it sometimes. Never go in. Don't need to. Thea's started her own graphic design business. Slowly around Ruby's nap schedule and the chaos of 3 kids. She already has 4 clients from church, with more inquiries coming. Turns out revenge presentations make excellent portfolio pieces, minus the personal details. Women who saw what she did and thought, I need someone that competent and creative. My parents ask about my dating life with the subtlety of carnival barkers. I'm not ready. Maybe I will be eventually. Maybe I won't. Turns out, being alone is significantly better than being with someone who's secretly saving $47,000 to leave you. My bar for companionship has become, don't lie about entire secret relationships, which feels both reasonable and depressing. Last month, Corbin texted me. First contact since the divorce. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're doing well. I stared at that message for 10 minutes. Considered responses ranging from gracious to nuclear. Finally typed back, I'm doing great. House is paid off. Savings are healthy. Living my best life. Hope you've learned something. He responded with a thumbs up emoji. A thumbs up. 10 years of marriage, 8 months of betrayal, $47,000 in hidden assets, and the man responds to closure with a cartoon hand. I blocked his number. People ask if I regret the Thanksgiving reveal. If I wish I'd handled it privately. Spared the family drama. Taken the high road. Here's the thing about high roads. They're lonely and morally superior, but they don't come with property settlements and the satisfaction of watching 32 people realize exactly who they've been defending at family dinners. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. With better slide transitions, maybe. Thea thinks we should have added music. The lesson here isn't profound. It's not, follow your heart, or communication is key, or any of that greeting card nonsense. The lesson is simpler. Never underestimate a woman with spreadsheet skills, a wronged sister, and access to your banking app passwords. Also, if you're going to have an affair, maybe don't document it like you're preparing evidence for your own trial. Just a thought. I'll be 35 in March. Almost there, but not quite yet. Single, mortgage-free, sleeping soundly in a bed that's entirely mine. Some nights I make pancakes for dinner because I can. Some days I don't iron anything because there's no one to iron for. Thea says I seem lighter, like I've been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. She's right. 10 years of marriage to someone who was building an exit strategy while I was building a life, that's heavy. Walking away from it? That's freedom. Landry still texts me occasionally asking for updates, calling herself the chaos catalyst. I've made her promise to never let me date anyone without a full background check first. She's already volunteered to conduct surveillance on any future romantic interests. I might take her up on it. Last week I drove past the meditation studio that used to be Clay and Soul. There was a sign in the window, "Find your inner peace." I didn't need to go in. I'd already found mine. In a 70-inch TV presentation, 2 divorce settlements, and the knowledge that sometimes the best pottery you can make is shattering someone else's carefully constructed lies into 47,000 pieces. The math works out perfectly. It always does.